Hi everybody, Dave Isaacs with you, and I want to talk today about practicing and specifically how you figure out what to practice to make the most efficient use of the time that you spend. And so today we're going to talk about changing chords, and this is something that I hear from a lot of students is a challenge when you learn a new chord and you're trying to work smoothly in and out of that chord in the context of a chord progression. So I want to give you a quick demonstration of some of the things that can be helpful in working that stuff out. So let's take a simple chord progression. I'm going to start with a B minor, to a G, to a D, to an A. Now, if you're just finding this video on YouTube, there is a companion piece that breaks all this down in an article and diagrams on my website, NashvilleGuitarGuru.com, in the articles section. So if you don't have that in front of you, definitely look it up. It'll be helpful as a companion to this. A lot of beginning students do struggle with the bar chord form, so I want to talk about the B minor for a second. You might notice that the formation is a lot like the A minor. If I take my index finger away, now I'm left with this shape, and if I slide back down to open position, these are the three notes you would hold to make an A minor chord. I'm just using a different set of fingers because I need my index finger free. So I'm covering the 3rd fret of the 2nd string with my middle finger, and the 4th fret of the 3rd and 4th strings with my pinky and ring fingers respectively. So before we even worry about the bar, I'm just going to start with this. And notice my hand position. My wrist is dropped a little bit, but it's basically straight. And you can see how the fingers are curled, bent at all the knuckles, and fingertips are sitting on the string. My thumb is about in the center of the neck, behind the neck. I'm not applying pressure, I'm just kind of balancing. You see my hand kind of wiggling back and forth. If you can do this comfortably, then you're in good shape. If you can't, this is gripping. This is just relaxing, okay? Now, the thing is, the index finger will pretty naturally just extend. So all I'm going to do is bring it in across the strings. And with this particular chord, it's a 5-string formation. The bar really only needs to cover 2 strings, or at least sound 2 strings, because I've got 3 fingers down already. And those notes are going to sound like that whether the bar is down or not. So the bar is bringing the 1st string note, 2nd fret, and the 5th string note, 2nd fret. And notice what happens here. My index finger is curled a little bit to the side, so I am not trying to come straight on to the string and have this part of my finger rest against the strings. I'm actually angled a little bit, and you can see that my hand is dropped a little. So I'm actually tilted so that the left side of my finger is contacting the string, and the 1st string is being blocked off by the side of my finger over here. Some people call this a hinge bar. I can take that index finger and even without touching the rest of the strings, sort of pinch the string between my thumb and the edge of my index finger. And then it's just a matter of curling that index finger in, and on the 5th string, I'm not trying to use the tip, I'm using more the pad of my finger, because when I lay that finger across all the strings, that's what naturally falls there. If I try to get on my fingertip, I can't hold the bar. So this is the best way to approach getting this index finger bar to work smoothly with these 3 fingers that are more curled and rounded. And one of the things you want to think about in putting chords together, and this ties into the whole big concept of how to practice, you need to break things down into the mechanical components. No matter how long you've been playing guitar or how much facility you have, every movement that you make is essentially mechanical. We have the hand, which is built a certain way and works a certain way. We have the guitar, which is built a certain way and works a certain way. So we're trying to get this to get along with that and to take advantage as much as we can of the natural construction of the hand and the things that work most comfortably just based on the way your hand is made. So keeping that in mind, the ring finger and pinky work together very naturally. It's very easy to move them together. And notice that the middle finger will tend to go along with them when you move those 2 as a unit. So I'm going to build this B minor chord by starting with ring and pinky, treating them as a unit together sitting on the third and fourth strings. Notice that that brings my middle finger fairly close to the second string note that I already need, and then extending the bar is just a matter of bringing that index finger into the strings. Here's B minor. So now if I want to make the change to a G chord, we're going to use this G formation. Now some of you may be accustomed to using this 4-finger G, where the ring and pinky fingers are over here on the first and second strings and index and middle reach across. That's a perfectly good way to play a G chord, and you could use that just as easily, but I want to use this form right now to illustrate this point. So I'm using 3 fingers. My pinky is on the first string, 3rd fret. Again, notice the bend in the knuckles, just like I had in the B minor, so I'm on my pinky. My ring finger is going to extend across, and notice that this is more straight, so there's more bend in the knuckles on the pinky than on the ring finger. And the ring finger is sitting on the pad. This is going with a general concept that when you're on the treble strings, most of the time your fingers will tend to curl more, and when you're on the bass strings, they will tend to extend more. That's not an absolute rule, but it is something that you will find works very well. My middle finger is going to go along with the ring finger, so we can treat this as a pair. But what we're really looking at is how to get from B minor to G. There's almost always a finger or a set of fingers that you can lead with. I'm going to call that the guide finger. And if you land first on the guide finger, the others will fall into place more easily, more naturally. So we're focusing in right now on ring and pinky and taking advantage of the fact that because these fingers work together so well, we're here on B minor, and all I really have to think about to start with is leading with my ring finger to get to this 6th string, 3rd fret bass, and then allowing my pinky to just move away in the opposite direction. Now my middle finger can just fall into place on the 5th string. So here's that move played very slowly. Pay attention to the ring finger and the pinky as they move apart. Here's B minor. Here are those 2 fingers separating, landing on opposite sides of the guitar, and the middle finger lands along with it. Now, you may have to practice this very slowly in order to make sure you're landing accurately. Remember, that's the goal. Practicing quickly is never going to make you more accurate, but practicing slowly and developing accuracy first will allow you to build speed. So again, watch ring and pinky separating. If I land here first, then I can bring the pinky in and then the middle. If I'm going to move from here to a D chord, I can make a similar move. I would say that I would probably start with the middle finger, land here on the 1st string. Notice how this brings my index finger very neatly into position. I land there on the 3rd string, and then ring comes around. So watch this change from G, leading with middle, and notice how index follows. And now to move to A, I'm going to think about index and middle and how this is another pair of fingers that work very easily together, and so I can simply pick these up and move over to the 3rd and 4th strings and then bring my ring finger in, if this is the fingering you use for A. Some people do it index, middle, ring across 4, 3, 2. I actually tend to like middle ring pinky because I find my hand fits more naturally. But we can use the same approach. Here's my D chord. If I want to land on A using the middle, ring, and pinky fingering, I'm going to lead with middle to land on the 4th string. It brings ring into position very naturally, and ring landing brings pinky into position very naturally. And now to return to B minor, I'm going to look again at that pair of ring and pinky and lead with those to land here on the 4th fret, 3rd and 4th strings, which brings the middle into position and then the index. So watch the whole change and you'll notice the lead fingers or the guide fingers in each change. B minor, leading with ring, allowing ring and pinky to separate. Middle falls into place. Now leading with middle, index follows, ring follows. And now either using index middle together and ring follows, or leading with middle and ring and pinky follow, and then using ring and pinky as a unit to land here back on the 3rd and 4th strings, brings middle into place, index finger extends. This is one illustration of a big concept, which is whatever you're practicing, there are specific mechanical issues or specific mechanical problems you want to solve. And the way to do that is just to break down whatever that movement is into the smallest possible thing. You look for the tiniest thing you can practice and master, and then you build on that. In this case, we're applying that way of thinking to chord changes by looking at individual fingers and the way that they move together, instead of just looking at each chord as a big block that you have to drag from one to the next. I think you'll find that this way of practicing chords will develop your facility a whole lot more quickly, and you're also, in the process, developing finger independence, which is a really crucial thing for playing anything on the guitar, and really anything you do is helping you develop that, especially if you practice slowly enough that you can focus on one finger at a time. So that's a big idea. I'm going to get into more applications of this big concept in subsequent videos. And again, if you're just finding this on YouTube and you'd like to take a look at the companion article, it's on my website, NashvilleGuitarGuru.com, under articles, and you will find there is a piece there also with some pictures and diagrams to help you walk through this. Again, I'm Dave Isaacs. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.